Hi, I'm Mary Wong, and welcome to Fertility Talks. And today we're doing it at a very different time in the office, so it's impromptu. It's going to be awesome. And we're with Tanya Smith, one of our very own acupuncturist, traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. And today we are going to be talking about Jing. And for you that do not know, Jing actually means energy or essence, direct translation from Chinese. Well, actually in Chinese words. So tell us about Jing and how it can affect our fertility.
So Jing is almost like the essence that you have to pass on to the next generation. And so it's what you came into this life with and what you'll pass on for the future. So it's kind of like a reserve kind of energy for your life that if you need a little extra, then you can draw on your Jing. And when you take good care of yourself, then you make an investment back into that reserve of Jing energy.
So how does that impact our fertility?
So abundant Jing energy will make it easier to conceive and to carry a baby.
Okay, so can you say a little bit more? Because some people are like, I don't understand what Jing is. Okay, fine.
So it's kind of like the raw materials and the energy of procreation, of making a baby, of I don't know what else to say about it.
Okay,
Would
cool.
you add anything to that?
Sure. Like, so we, another descriptor is like this primordial essence. So yes, we come into this world with this energy, and over time it depletes and it's not that you can replenish it, but we can certainly help to preserve it. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. We so need it for procreation, right? To making our babies. It's like the juice that we need to create life. And so then let's talk about what there is to help preserve our energy. And you know what? Especially for women, I find more and more, and basically since women's liberation, we're just like totally overtaxing ourselves.
Yeah, it's almost as if, we didn't drop any roles in life, but we just added some more on top. And so we're really stretched thin. A lot of the people that we see are just feeling so pulled and so stretched and so depleted by just keeping up with their everyday life, by the amount of stimulation and things they need to respond to, whether it's social media or work pressure or demands from their families or their parents. And so all of these different roles kind of pull us all in these different directions, and they all take some energy from us in order to respond to what's happening in our world. And so it's really important to make sure that we're tending to just how much we're drawn on so that we don't get depleted by it.
And absolutely. So, it's not uncommon for women to come in and say, oh my gosh, I feel so tired and I don't even know why. And then when we inquire, it's like, okay, well what are you doing? Right? So like I have elderly parents I'm taking of, I'm like working full time, and I'm competing with the next guy who's going to get a raise, and I deserve it too. And I'm going to work extra hard. Yeah. But yet you're wanting to procreate. And it's like, wait a minute, maybe we need to back off a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, coming from that place, I don't want you to walk away feeling, well, now what? Because this is just a predicament, and I'm not going to abandon my parents who are sick or elderly, and I have to keep a job, I have to make a living, so what do we do?
Well, there's some really, really kind of basic needs that your body has, that even with all of these demands, if you can take good care of these simple things, it can help to preserve your essence and your Jing. So sleep is a really, it's not always a simple one, but is a really important one to try to get good sleep and to try to have a regular sleep cycle if possible. I'm
going to add to that, by the way. As we were saying, women are very overdriven and all that stuff. What I find is, for some reason, I think women sleep really late. They're like on social media late at night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And for so many reasons, that's unhelpful, because it's not only a screen that you're staring at that's messing with all of your sleep hormones, but it's also the idea of having to keep up and having to, sort of compare ourselves with somebody's idealized version of themselves that they're putting up on social media, and it can make us feel really bad about ourselves or judgmental about ourselves. And then you try to fall asleep after that, and it certainly doesn't help. It's not going to make you feel more relaxed and calm. It's going to be kind of aggravating and upsetting, and then you turn it off, and then you're thinking about those things, and it makes it difficult to get into a good sleep.
Right, and then you'll wake up and then you're still thinking.
Yeah.
Right? So the one quick tip I always say is, like, if you're used to falling asleep at like midnight, let's not go crazy and say, okay, now let's start sleeping at 10, but just dial it back even 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
Right?
And if it's possible, using that little bit of time before you sleep, just to get in touch with your body. Sometimes I'll recommend just putting your legs up the wall, and that's soothing to the nervous system. It also brings nice blood flow to the reproductive organs. But it's a way for you to shift from being external and being stimulated to being more internal, and it starts to help with falling asleep and staying asleep.
Mm-hmm. And sleep is so important for fertility because, again, we're talking about preserving our energy. And, I don't know if you notice, but when you're sick, you're tired and you just want to go to sleep. And why you want to go to sleep is because your body, it requires so much energy to try to heal yourself.
Yeah.
So we want to use sleep for recuperation, right? Yeah. And building back up.
And it's almost a way of reassuring our nervous system that everything's okay, and that it's okay to start to give some blood flow to the reproductive system, because ordinarily, if there's a stress response happening, your blood is kind of shunted to your big muscles and to your sensory organs so that you can respond to the stressor that's going on. And so as you sleep, the blood flow starts to go to your reproductive organs and your digestive organs so that you can draw energy from the food that you've eaten, and so that you can draw more energy to your reproductive system to allow it to function a little bit better. And that kind of reassurance to your nervous system takes you out of that fight and flight response and into a more receptive kind of state that will be supportive to your fertility.
I love that visual, and I love it that you're saying about sleep helps the body. When you're in a calm state, more energy will just naturally go to where it's not necessary for survival, because, let's face it, reproduction is not necessary for survival. Yeah. We can do a full hysterectomy, take out every single internal reproductive organ, and you're okay.
Carry on.
And you carry on. So, yeah, let's preserve that for sure. And, there are things like melatonin that people even take, and they even see that it can help egg quality. So imagine just increasing a little bit of sleep may help egg quality. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Without having to automatically go to IVF or something.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So
along a similar vein, things that help with stress are a great way to preserve Jing, and it's kind of along these same lines of recognizing when your energy is spilling out or being erratic, and helping to ground it so that you're not expelling or wasting energy, but that you're really using techniques to help calm you down, so then you can proceed in a way that uses your energy well. So a lot of the times I will ask people even to do simple breathing exercises where they just take a few breaths when they notice that they're kind of getting worked up. If that's something that people already have a handle on, sometimes I'll suggest, what about a meditation app or something like that, where there's a guided meditation that you can put on either when there's some downtime, like on a lunch break, or in the evening as you're trying to go to sleep. It's a really helpful way to shift the nervous system from that kind of overexcited state to a more calm one. And
I do love it that you're saying using something that is guided, because for those of us who have very overactive minds, you can, okay, I'll do a self-meditation and I'm going to breathe and all that, but then all of a sudden your voice kicks in, and then all of a sudden you're doing your shopping list or all the other things that is in your head. So something guided will kind of allows you to focus outside of yourself and has you do the meditation better, right?
Yeah.
Depends on where you're at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are two things that I really like just for Jing preservation, and just you can kind of almost feel this sense of oh yeah, that would be really good, just for me and for partly my experience of trying to get pregnant and how difficult it can be and how these kinds of techniques can really be soothing. But also you can just kind of feel a sense of like, yeah, that would make me feel more in my body and at home and calm, and it feels a bit safe. So I think that's all useful when we think about the chemistry of fertility and of supporting fertility.
So how about foods?
How about food? I love to talk about food. So there are foods that are intensely nutritious and very good for you, and because of their dense nutrition, help to preserve or to restore the body and the jing. So what are some that you like?
One thing that I actually tell a lot of people is royal jelly. And, it's not something that you would just normally eat. You will have to go pick it up and buy it, right? But then there's food stuff, too.
Why would you do royal jelly? Tell me more about royal jelly. What is it?
Wait a minute. The interview is for you, not for me. So royal jelly is the food that is actually reserved for the queen bee. And guess what the queen bee does? The sole function of the queen bee is to procreate and make a hell of a lot of worker bees so that they continue their species, like their whole survival. And that's royal jelly. Isn't that crazy? So in Chinese medicine, we love to talk about like treats like. Mm-hmm. So the richness of that royal jelly helps to enrich our essence, that jing that we are talking about.
So along the same vein, foods that we can have every day that are really nutritious and really easy for our body to take in are things like bone broth. So it's the bones are simmered in liquid for quite a long time, and so a lot of the minerals come out of the bones into the liquid, and then you take that. Very nutritious, but it also has this kind of strengthening energy to it when we talk about sort of the like, supporting the like. And nettles is another herb version of bone broth that I really like. So making a strong tea from nettles, the chlorophyll in green things is very similar to our blood, and so very nourishing for our systems. So green drinks, nettle tea, what else along this vein? Any leafy greens on a regular basis, and a lot of them, very nourishing for the blood and for the jing.
So, and when you mention like chlorophyll, so things that are in the sea, right? So the seaweeds and algae like that, that's also very nutritious, and we call them jing nourishing foods.
Yeah.
Right?
And then anything that could make another plant is also really nourishing for jing. So nuts and seeds, where there are these little capsules of potential energy that could sprout and become a plant, are very good for you. And using them in a way that's easy to digest is a good idea. So sometimes that means soaking them and then dehydrating them again, or roasting sometimes also helps with digestibility. For nuts and seeds.
I love that you say that, because a lot of times people would just automatically get it then, and you want it to be in a form that's absorbable, and this is a great option for those that are vegetarians, because although bone broths are great, not everybody chooses to have them, and bone broth is definitely by far the most digestible thing. So, and by the way, just for your own information, so in Chinese, just in our culture, we call like, when you buy like a chicken bouillon, right? Like the with the translation, like even the cubes, like it's really not that, but in cubes we actually call it jing, and so we call that essence. So culturally, we already know that broths and soups, which is part of the Chinese tradition, and traditionally we have it every single day with the meals, because it's what helps to replenish our essence.
Yeah.
But it's been lost, right? Like we even Chinese people start losing, or going towards a Western diet, and really we could actually defy the modern movement of having like regular breakfast foods, and you can actually start the day with bone broth, soup.
Yeah.
Like highly digestible. It's warm, especially on this icky day in Toronto, right? If you're in Toronto or any cold place. So very replenishing. Yeah. Anyway, anything else?
I think that's all I wanted to talk about. The only other aspect that I'd like to mention is about movement. And one thing I encourage people to do with their movement, so sometimes it's that little bit of like, got to check things off my checklist, and working out is one of those things. And I work out and then I go on to the next thing. And I encourage people to check in with themselves after their movement or after their exercise period and just say, like, do I feel better or do I feel tired? And if it's taking something more than it's giving you, it's kind of a good gauge that maybe that's too intense and too depleting for you. And you might want to shift either to less intensity or less duration or a completely different activity. I really like to encourage people just to walk and just to, be outside and breathe on purpose and look around. Some things that we don't really value or appreciate, but they kind of fulfill us in a number of ways about that connection with nature and what's around us. I like to do Qigong exercises, but a lot of people like to do yoga or Pilates. All of those are really kind of slower paced types of exercises where you still get lots of movement, you still strengthen the body, but it's not as depleting or it doesn't ask as much of your system.
And all of that you can actually even do if you are currently at a fertility clinic. You can still do those. Yeah. Right? So it's not over-exercising. I find that sometimes women will stop exercising altogether. Mm-hmm. And then how good do you feel, right?
Yeah, you get kind of stagnant and stuck and icky feeling. So it's important to continue to move, but just to be mindful of how it makes you feel.
All right, so just to sum it up, we're talking about food, sleep, movement.
And stress management.
Yeah. Which really encompasses, like, your life.
Yeah. But, it's important to recognize that those things aren't just a good idea, but they actually offer your system something. They replenish your ability to heal your body and to support a pregnancy, if that's what you want to do.
Absolutely. And, people are always looking for this, like, elixir and something secretive, but really, there's no secret in this. Consistency over time. Yeah. Doing these things, incorporating it, and you'll see transformations. We see it every day.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank you.
So that's it for now. So again, welcome to, not welcome, we're going to sign off for Fertility Talks. But next week, we're going to talk to Dara Lee Roth, and we're going to talk about boundaries. So it's a really nice segue because one of the reasons why we're overtaxed and overdoing everything is because we often have a difficulty saying no, right? So let's just cut that and with some good strategies. And it's Dara Lee Roth, and she is is she a psychologist? She's something.
Find out more next week.
We'll find out more next week for sure. And have a great night. And by the way, for those of you that are semi-local, the Canadian Fertility Show is happening February the 23rd. It's a Saturday all day. So please join us, and it'll be an awesome day. There's like 20 speakers, I believe, something like that. I myself will be one of the speakers along with one of our other practitioners here at Alive Holistic Health Clinic. But otherwise, you can check out more posts. There's lots of information for you. So scroll down or go to my website, marywong.life, to get lots more information, okay? And by the way, thank you, Hima Sankar from Trinidad, for joining in. There's lots of other people, and but we're going to keep everything private now. Nobody wants to be discovered. So we'll see you next time, okay? Take care. Bye now. Thanks again.